like to welcome you to What's on the Menu Monday. Today's star today is me, of course, but my co-star is going to be the apple. If you watched on Thursday, we went to the county line orchard and I picked some apples for our Iron Skillet Apple Pie that we'll be cooking today. Quick fact, archaeologists have found evidence that people have been eating apples since 6500 BC, so the apple has been around for a while. Before we started, I had to preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and I needed to put, we're using a well-seasoned iron skillet. If you're like me, I didn't know what that meant, so I looked it up on the internet. In order to season your cast iron skillet well, you need to scrub the skillet with soapy water, then you dry it thoroughly. You spread a thin layer of melted shortening or vegetable oil over the skillet, and then you place it upside down in the middle of an oven rack at 375 degrees. You want to place a foil on the lower rack to catch any drippings that may come from the pan, and then you bake it in the oven for about an hour, and then you let it cool in the oven after that. One of my coworkers, Joel, was able to bring me a skillet today for the What's on the Menu Monday, so I didn't have to season it. It was already seasoned. The ingredients for the pie today is we're going to need a half cup of butter, a cup of packed brown sugar, one package of refrigerated rolled unbaked pie crust, 5 Granny Smith apples. However, Granny Smith apples are not in season yet. They're not available until after October. At the end of October, so we're using the Gala apples that we picked at the county line orchard. You're going to need a 1/4 cup of spiced rum, a half cup of white sugar, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of flour, and then 1 egg lightly beaten with 1 teaspoon of water for the egg wash later on. Like I said, I already preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And before we started, I needed to melt some butter into the skillet, and that took about 5 minutes. And then on top of that, I had to stir in some brown sugar. That was the cup of brown sugar. And then I baked that into the oven as well for about another 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the skillet real fast. I'll be back in a second. You can see the butter and the brown sugar is already in the bottom of the pan. Okay, now what we need to do is we're going to lay down one of the pie crusts into the bottom of the pan. And they say do not pat it, so you just lay it right there. From here you want to lay your apples. You just spread them out. The first apple pie recipe was printed over 630 years ago in England. And that was in about 1381, in case anyone was wondering. Comment down below what your favorite pie is. The most popular pie in North America is the apple pie, of course. I think I cut more apples than was necessary, but sure it looks all right. Another interesting apple fact is that the apples were brought to North America by colonists in the 17th century. So the apples are not native to America. They were brought here. After we go ahead and put the apples in, we're going to need to mix together the topping for the apples. We are using a spiced rum. That is what the recipe called for. So this will be interesting. I'm sure the alcohol will be cooked off in the process and you don't have to worry about a bunch of crazy librarians later today. All right. Now I'm going to drizzle the spiced rum on top of this. Some more apples on top. It's a very full pie. And then we'll put the rest of the spiced rum on top of that. Right. Okay, and in the bowl we want to mix together the cinnamon, sugar, and flour. So we have this all prearranged. This is sugar, it's the flour, and then the cinnamon. That's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Mix that together real quick. And this will be going on top of our apples. Spread it on top of all the apples. Another interesting apple fact, or apple pie fact, is in 1625, William Blackstone, he planted the first apple orchard in the United States in New England. Now this is the first time I've ever made an apple pie from scratch, so I don't really know what I'm doing here. And again, that's what the purpose of this program is, to see that anyone can follow a recipe. Hopefully it turns out very tasty later today. Of our flour, sugar, and cinnamon mixture onto the pie. Okay, from here, all you're doing is you're going to place the top layer of the pie crust on your apples. You want to just tuck the top layer down so that it meets your bottom layer of dough. Just make sure it gets all the way to the bottom. then you want to make a couple slits. Into the pie so that the steam can escape. And then this is an optional step. This is just the egg and the water, and it makes a little egg wash. The reason you would do this is you make your pie comes out a nice golden brown. That looks really nice. Just want to go ahead and just cover the entire top layer of the pie. And then after this, you would go ahead and you put the pie into the oven, which I will do in a second here. Just a little bit here. All right. Grab my oven mitts, run it into the oven. Now we're going to keep it in the oven for 45 to 50 minutes. When I come back, we're going to be making the whipped topping that will go on top of the pie. Now you could use regular Cool Whip if that's what you choose. We're going to go ahead and do it from scratch. That's more fun. So I'm going to start by putting a cup of heavy cream. There is a teaspoon of the spiced rum already in the bowl. We're going to put a 1/4 cup of the powdered sugar in after the heavy cream. And then we're going to use 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Now they want you to go ahead and beat this mixture on a very high setting until soft peaks form. So we'll start. The peaks are starting to form. All right, we could probably finish that a little later. That's pretty much the apple pie in the Iron Skillet that we have for you today. It was from the County Line Orchard. Before we go, I have a quick story to tell. There's a little boy, and his father was not doing too well. He was on his deathbed. And the little boy was sitting next to his grandfather, and grandfather gets up, smells something really good, and he says, "Sonny," he's like, "is your grandmother making an apple pie?" And he's like, "Yes." And the grandfather said, "Be a lamb and go downstairs and get me a piece of apple pie. One last apple pie before I go." And the boy, he goes downstairs and he's gone for about 2 minutes, comes back up. He's like, "Sorry, Grandpa, but Grandma said that apple pie is for after the funeral. So I'll leave that with you today, a little joke for our apple pie in the iron skillet. Later today, we'll go ahead and take a picture of it and post it to see what it looks like when everything's done. Thanks for joining us today. Like, comment, and share on our Facebook Live page so that we could see if you enjoyed what you saw today. Thank you.